Hello and welcome back to Just Whelmed Noted, the show where we talk about Young Justice Invasion. And I forgot to say something before we started, so it was spoiled. We have, in fact, Joe Davis making his triumphant return to the show.
Hello.
All right, so before we get started talking about these episodes, you've been gone for a while, so let's just sort of quickly, talk about a couple things that happened in the past and get your opinions on them. So first things first, let's start with the first, reveal. What do you think about the 5-year time jump?
It's interesting. I noted that they came back like literally like the day after New Year's Day, but 5 years later. Like it's almost to the point it's been 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how I feel about a 5-year time jump because that's huge. That's massive.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I think like 2 or 3 would have been sufficient.
Like I've said, I've said in previous episodes, I don't know if you've had a chance to catch up on those yet. There is a reason for the 5 years. There are things that happen within those 5 years, but a lot of the big changes happened within the last year, which is actually covered in their video game. Speaking of that, sort of, what are your opinions on Calder's seemingly villainous turn?
I'm still not sure. I guess I'm not sure I 100% buy it. Like I've watched enough DC shows to kind of get the drift that like maybe he's just really well pulling off like a double agent thing. It wouldn't surprise me if I'm wrong because he's a very passionate character that believes in trustworthiness and honor and all that crap. I don't mean actual crap, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And if he feels betrayed, he feels like he's a character that would go all in against that betrayal. But jumping in with Black Manta also feels like a really heavy move that like he would be hesitant to make. Like I feel Calder would go Roy before he'd go joining Black Manta.
That's fair. That's fair. So let's see. What do you think about? Speaking of Roy,
Yeah.
what do you think about where they're taking his character so far this season?
I never thought I'd say like Jade's the more voice of reason than almost every other character in the series so far. But I think it's sweet. Like it's weird. Like weird's not even the right word. His entire reality is being questioned, and the fact that Kid Flash or Wally and Robin Nightwing.
Well, not Robin anymore.
Yeah, whatever. He'll still be Robin to me. Yeah, the fact that like the kind of commentary they made should have rung true to him. Like we've never known the other Roy. You are Roy to us. Like even if you're not Roy anymore, you're still our friend.
Yeah,
that guy wasn't. Is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about when we're introduced to Roy after the 5-year time jump. That he basically looks like he's been on drugs for the past 5 years. Like he's obviously lost a lot of body mass, and he's like scraggly out, and his hair's all messy, and he just looks like he's been on just like one massive 5-year bender.
Well, that's the whole thing, though. It's like that's probably the closest, and I believe Tom and I alluded to this last season, but this is the closest we're going to get to his actual in comics drug storyline. So that's what they're pulling from here.
I think it would have been better if they had done like he's on some sort of like offshoot of Venom, like a combat stimulant.
that would have been a good one. All right, so it looks like Tom did not catch up this week. Unfortunate.
No, I'm just playing. It happens.
Yeah, it's like Tom's digging my attempt at growing facial hair.
Hey, it takes time sometimes.
It does take time. This is like 2 weeks.
I also like the characterization for Jade that she's starting to feel more like her mother. Like
yes.
Like it's really interesting that given the almost similar trajectory of life that she's been on, she's becoming her mother faster than even Artemis did. Like, because Artemis
Hmm.
hasn't become her mother per se, but her and Wally seem really happy, like not really
Yeah.
doing the superhero gig.
Yeah, so I guess that will transition to my next point. What do you think about Artemis and Wally just somewhat retiring?
Just doing
Well,
the
we'll
college
get, we'll,
gig.
we'll get to that. We'll get a little bit more Wally later on in the episode, but
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it makes sense. It's one thing I've really enjoyed about DC animated that I feel Marvel really does right and wrong is these people are people. Like when it comes to Batman, we never really see Bruce Wayne do Bruce Wayne things. We haven't since Batman the Animated Series back in the 90s. But now with Young Justice, we've gotten to in the first season and now in the second season that these people have lives. It's not just wearing costumes and fighting crime, but it's going to school and Wally and Artemis making a conscious effort to do college and get careers outside of just fighting crime. Like I get the feeling that they wouldn't stay away from crime fighting forever, but they're not going to let that define them.
and Ashley in the chat's asking us to talk about Iris and Roy's babies,
Uh,
but we'll talk about that then when we talk about episode 6 because they play a good part of episode 6.
Yep. Jade just uses it as that one like trump card to pull Roy out of his funk.
But Leanne plays a bigger part in this episode 6. We'll talk about all that then. What else did I want to talk about? I guess as we go on, we'll talk about we'll talk about the new team members as we go along because they all make some decent appearances in these episodes. So, other than Lagoon Boy, so what are your opinions on Lagoon Boy?
The good boy?
Lagoon Boy.
Oh, Lagoon Boy.
Yeah, Yuri Lowenthal.
Fine.
He's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some clever like I won't even say clever. I like puns, and he's all about those puns. The
Lagoon is
the really painful wordplay. I'm not sure. Like they go into it in some of the episodes, but I'm not sure how I feel about Megan and Lagoon Boy being a thing.
Oh, actually, yeah. So that is one thing that I didn't ask about, since you guys were the champions of Megan and Connor. What do you think about them breaking up?
It hurts. It hurts.
I bet it does. I bet it does. It hurt me. I want to make this clear. This episode aired a week after the finale of season 1 in real time.
Yeah.
So
they're just we're happy. We're happy 5 years later. Well, I mean, we work together. Oh.
And I will bring up in Young Justice Legacy, which is the video game that takes place in the 5th year, that is when Artemis and Wally make the decision to retire, and that is because of Tula's death. They don't ever address it on the show, but that is why they retired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Stop. Sorry, I have cat problems.
Yeah, you always have cat problems.
I do.
All right.
Mostly one problem.
So then let's talk about episode 5, which is this is Beneath. Right, Beneath. They were both B words this time. Yep. I remembered. So,
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah. So, usual Young Justice Invasion fashion, there's pretty much 2 storylines going on in any given episode. So, the 2 for this week are Blue Beetle trying to find his friend Ty, and a group of 4 female team members going on a mission in Bialia.
Yep.
And just starting off with the mission, what would you think of the whole call of Nightwing? It's like, you wouldn't have to justify a team of 4 male members, would you? And
he makes the right answer. He's just like, there's no right way to answer that.
So
it's very true.
That's true.
Oh, that entire scene is very true. Where he's like, yeah, this is why we're sending an entire team of women, and she's like, really? That's the reason why? Maybe not because we're all qualified. You wouldn't have to justify this crap with the all male team. He's like, you're very right.
Yeah. So continuing on with that. So obviously Cassie is the newest of the members, so she kind of gets put on watch duty, and immediately realizes, oh, we can't use our telekinetic connection because Simon's here.
Yep.
Which will allow us to transition into McGann's really been going a little intense with the mind stuff.
Well, it's not just that. She's like, because in previous episodes, she, for lack of a better term, lobotomized two people.
Yeah.
The information from her head.
Yeah, so it's like, obviously we get the impression that that's the reason why they broke up. It's definitely heavily implied in episode 2 that that's the reason why.
Yeah.
That apparently Simon was, hospitalized for months after the last encounter. I just love, because we got a whole group of, B-list villains. Askel Jr. is just like, you don't have a very good track record against her, right?
Right.
He doesn't.
I enjoyed Devastation or Devastator or whatever her name is.
I think her name's Devastation.
Yeah, she was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's just like, I also just love Cassie being stealthy, but then at the same time she jumps from building to building and just casts this giant shadow, and that's what gives her away.
Yep.
It's like it's
really cool.
It's like
it's really cool that she was able to initially be really stealthy and get to McGann and warn her, and it's just after that is when things go wrong.
Yes. So it's we haven't actually talked about the whole team that's there. It's McGann, Cassie, then also Bumblebee and Batgirl.
Yep.
Bumblebee and Batgirl. Batgirl's just crawling through the vents, and communication. Yeah, communications down, psychic links down, alarms went off, and then Bumblebee and Batgirl just run into each other in the air ducts, and Bumblebee's just like, "This was your escape plan, really?" Batgirl's like, "No, I was already here." So Batgirl winds up getting captured because it's like 5 superpowered villains and her.
Yep.
It's
and she's awesome, but
yeah,
it's still outnumbering and all that jazz.
It's like Batman can take on a member of the Justice League. He can't take on all the members of the Justice League.
He's got a plan to, but it may not work.
He's got the plan to. Yeah. You could take them on one at a time, not all at once.
Totally. So I really enjoyed in general the beginning of this episode because it was very much like McGann, whatever, is becoming a leader in her own right. Mm-hmm. And it's very effective. She's very good at it. And I like that because it's really cool. And this goes back to one of the other things in one of the previous episodes where it's proof that McGann, Connor, and Nightwing all have open invitations to join the Justice League after you notice that Rocket and Zatanna are full members. But they're like, nah, we're good. And you also notice that Red Tornado isn't at the mountain anymore. That those three are now their team leaders, for lack of a better word, and instructors and all that jazz for the next generation. It's a really cool... It's proving that this concept of this experiment is working. That you take these younger heroes and you turn them into full-fledged Justice League members, but the team, for whatever word they could have used, is a really good training method to get them there.
Yes. So, Batgirl gets captured. They have to, save all the people that have been abducted after all this time. And they managed to do that. They managed to escape after a whole bunch of battles, cutting off the wings of the plane and then having the bioship grab the, chassis. Yep. And then they make their escape and save all those people. And at this point, I think we should talk about the other half of this episode, which is Blue Beetle trying to figure out what happened to his friend, Ty.
Yep. So, as a side note, Ashley and I both squeed when we found out who he's buying a bus ticket to Houston. Because for those that don't know, watching this episode, my wife and I live very close to Houston, probably about a good 20-minute drive from downtown Major. Yeah, that was kind of like, oh, so Houston exists in the DC universe.
Yeah,
we know it does in Marvel, and now we know it does in DC. Is Ty a call out to an existing DC character?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Because the last name Long Shadow sound familiar.
He is a call out to characters, and there's a call out that you wouldn't notice right off the bat, but I will bring it up when we get to the end of the episode.
Cool. So there's another tidbit of information that I really like. While Jaime is investigating and meeting all of these people, something that I really like that happens, but not nearly enough to make me not notice this, is all the Native American characters are played by Native American actors in this. The guy who plays Maurice is played by the guy who did Chakotay in Star Trek Voyager. The woman who plays Ty's mom played Pocahontas in the movie, the animated movie. And the big one is not Maurice's, Ty's grandfather, Holling Long Shadow, is voiced by Michael Horse, who played Hawk in Twin Peaks, deputy soon-to-be Sheriff Hawk in Twin Peaks. So I was excited to find that out.
Yeah, so excited you tweeted about that.
I did. I was super excited because I don't ever hear Michael Horse or see Michael Horse do other stuff outside of Twin Peaks. So just figuring that out was like, oh, this is so nice. And it's interesting because I don't remember the actor's name, but they didn't get the guy that played John Redcorn in King of the Hill to play anything. So
I tried to make a call out to the scene when I was just sipping my water during that. That was a great scene. This is the
first time we get to hear his armor telling him what to do. Like actually hear it.
No. The first time we actually hear it. Oh wait, yes.
No, because I think the previous. No.
It was either last episode or this episode.
It was last episode because it kept telling him incompatible with the armor and stuff like that.
Yes, it was last episode.
And Ashley's asking, was John Redcorn played by a Native American actor? Yes, he is. He also is in Parks and Recreation as the head of the Pawnee Native American Council. I don't remember the actor's name, but he is played by a Native American.
So
sorry about that.
The entire episode, he's just literally fighting his Scarab. Scarab just wants to obliterate everybody. He's like, no.
Especially Maurice.
Maurice. That we the entire episode, you're suspicious of Maurice. What happened to Ty? And we come to find out after Blue Beetle makes picks a lock in the shed. He's just doing usual shady stuff of having bootleg DVDs.
Yeah. Like shady stuff, but not kidnapping your stepson shady stuff.
Yeah. It was just just usual run of the mill, not so great stuff. And I was like, at the end of the day, they're just like, we still don't know where Ty is. Unfortunately, we do know where Ty is
because he's in the second shipment.
He's in the second shipment. And one thing that you should notice at the very end of that core group that we have there, the last person there is Virgil, aka Static.
I didn't notice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I hope that actually has an impact later on, and not just like, hey, look, it's it's the thing. Nice, that's good. So I hate to interrupt the flow of the episode breakdown, but I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
Bumblebee is one of the kids in their school, right?
Yes, as is Mal.
Okay. So the other dude that's there that you never see do anything, the other bigger dude, he was also a guy from their school, right? He's one dressed like one of the Supermans at the Halloween party.
Yep.
Why? Is that gone over later?
Essentially, they just became real good friends with them. And they trusted Mal. They trust Mal enough to be their civilian that can run the comms for them while they're having large missions.
I was like, is he supposed to end up being cyborg or something?
No.
Okay.
He does have a superhero persona, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Okay.
But he does have an A designation for the Zeta entry and stuff, which
I
is
noticed that.
which is for civilians like Adam Strange.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah.
Very interesting. All right. Moving on.
Moving on to episode 6, Bloodlines, and right off the bat, one thing I dislike about this episode is that they give away too much at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's like if it wasn't for the opening scene of Bart in the future, that would just make things a little bit more in question. What is he doing? But you see off the bat that the future's in bad shape.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They don't give away everything though. Like they give away enough for you to know that like the future's in bad shape and he's coming to the past, but they don't tell you anything else really.
Oh yeah.
Other than it's like a one person ride.
Yes. He manages to have an energy impulse and arrives in the cave. And because they said energy impulse, he's like, cool, that's my name now.
Right? Which is fine. It's cool. I like it. I kind of like Bart. It's his slang is a bit much.
There's reason for his slang, and it will be explained in the future.
Yeah.
But if you actually notice, his slang is all things that are said by the mysterious aliens controlling Neutron.
Yep.
Which is knowing what I know makes a lot of sense, but it might be just very confusing.
Well, I was under the impression that was just future talk. That's kind of what I gathered.
It is future talk, but it's like you gotta love Impulse's entrance, where he just gets out of the time machine and is just like ta-da.
Yeah. My favorite is when he's explaining stuff to people why he knows stuff from the future, and he just accidentally outs Robin and Nightwing to Garfield. And wasn't I know one of the other. Who was there? The other.
It was Robin, Nightwing, and
Beast Boy.
Beast Boy. So
which we haven't talked about Beast Boy, but I freaking love Beast Boy.
He's so precious in this.
Yeah. He's a fanboy with superpowers.
Exactly. That's great because he was a fan of them before he got superpowers.
And now he gets to work with them.
Yeah, it's like we didn't even get to talk about him officially being blood siblings with Megan, and that sort of very forced explanation of how he got his powers.
Yep.
In case you couldn't figure that out from the episode last season, here's a very detailed reason. This is how he got his powers, why he's green.
Yep.
Even though she's a white Martian.
Yeah, but his human DNA weirdly corresponds with it.
Yeah. And she was green when she did it, so.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense. But I enjoy his introduction, and I enjoy the fact that like he's basically just able to. He is obviously way faster than they could expect, but
yes.
What is it? Nightwing's still able to take him down pretty easily because he knows he's like, I fought enough speedsters or know enough speedsters to know how they function. So he's eventually going to stop to make a quip, and that's when I can take him.
It's like, I'm going to lay this obvious trap and attack you with the non-obvious trap.
Yep.
But it's a great Nightwing scene. It's like here, have this drink. He's like, you want my DNA? Okay.
That's a classic. That was a classic Dick Grayson move. I mean, what now?
he's like, yeah, I know all of you. Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Garfield Logan. Oops.
And Beast Boy's just like, your name's Dick? Your name's Tim?
Yeah, it's like,
great.
Oh well. And he's like, what Nightwing does is he has these trackers that he put in the water, and that's how they're able to track down Impulse. But I think everybody knew where they were going.
Yeah. He's going to go see the other speedsters.
Yeah.
I love how every time there is one speedster out of costume, it's like all of them also have to be there. It's like some weird magnetic situation. If we're ever seeing now, if we're going to find Wally on his own, maybe not. But anytime Barry's out of costume, we also end up seeing Jay and Wally out of costume all together in one house.
Well, the way the show is set up, we're not going to just see Barry out of costume. It's not focused on him.
No, of course not. It's not about the old guard of heroes. It's about the new guard. The old guard are just there.
It's like, so if we see Barry out of costume, either Wally or Bart needs to be there.
Yep.
And Jay definitely needs to be there just because he's awesome.
Yeah. Because he's sassy old speedster.
Yeah. And man, it's like we get there with the celebrating Jay's 70th marriage anniversary.
Yeah,
man,
which means he has to be almost 90.
Yeah.
Jesus, Jay.
Yeah, and he's still running around with the tin hat.
His wife's gonna kill him though.
Yes, she is. So Bart crashes that party, and of course Wally has to crash Bart crashing that party because Nightwing called him. It's like, okay, what's going on here? So I have an interesting theory about what happened in the original timeline. It's never really addressed, but we'll get to that, when we get to that.
I thought it was addressed in this episode by the end.
Well, I mean, sort of different theory. So it's like everybody's having that. It's like, you can't be my grandson. I don't even have kids. And then I was like, actually, Barry.
Yeah.
So that was a great way to announce. Yeah, by the way, we're having a kid. And then Bart's like, hi Dad, hi Aunt Dawn. And then I was just like, what? Twins? And Bart's like, oops.
I love his constant spoilers. Just like, like he's really not spoiling anything earth-shattering, but he is spoiling little things here and there, and it's just like,
so we got Iris getting a call. It's like, first, like, Barry's like, what's going on? And it's like, no, it's mine. Don't worry about it. And unfortunately, it is something that Barry had to worry about because there's this new villain attacking Central City. And here we get him saying, I'll be back in a flash. And then Bart's just completely losing all in character that he's been doing. He's like, wow, does he do that a lot? And everybody just simultaneously is like, yeah.
Even Wally, who's arguably one of the cheesier members of the first team, is just like, yeah.
And I just love that like pseudo Big Brother moment that Wally has. He just turns to Bart and he's like, "You're going, aren't you?" And then Bart's just like, "The doy," and then runs off. And they go get this new villain, Neutron, who's in this like big bulky suit and shooting out beam. And it's like all this weird future or alien stuff we don't know. All I know, but it could be anything.
It looks a lot like the kind of powered armor Lex Luthor would wear.
Yes, it does. But it's like, we've got these aliens that are watching along on screens and weird alien dialect with subtitles you have to read. So if you're looking away, you might miss what's actually being said, and this is when they, start using all the different things that is in there. It's like with everything being on mode or threatening to crash the mode.
Yep.
So
which is weird. Mode I get because is mode bad?
Mode is bad,
but crash is good.
Crash is good because you want to crash the mode.
Yeah.
It's explained. Don't worry.
I'm sure.
There's reasons why crashing the mode is good and feeling the mode is bad.
I would imagine.
So we've it's like Bart makes it there, and then Barry just sort of forgets that he told Bart to stay at home, and they're just like sort of talking back and forth and doing banter, and then they get behind a car, and then Bart's like, "Wait a minute, I told you to stay back."
I imagine, because that's one thing I really enjoy animated Flash in almost all the incarnations I've seen him, because he's just a big kid. Like, he takes things seriously because he has to, because he's a superhero and he understands. But at the end of the day, he's having fun fighting evil and saving the world.
It's like I just love the fact that all those blasts just cannot touch them.
Yeah, and it's not even like they're having to try.
No, they're really not. But then, of course, Wally's like, "Yeah, I should probably help too." He suits back up and makes his way over to go help. And
I love that Wally is just super butthurt he's not as fast as the other two.
No, yeah, and like there's of course these weird waves that Neutron's giving off, and eventually he blows up. Everybody makes their way out of the blast radius. Unfortunately, Wally's not fast enough, and he's like, and they both have to like sort of help him up.
This is so humiliating.
So the power armor gets destroyed, but he like slowly starts to regenerate, and it's like all weird and stuff. And so Impulse like starts running over there, and he has this sort of like weird orb thing that he obviously got from the future. And
that's the second time.
That is the second time.
Because there's a time in between where he's like, okay, his pulses aren't timed to where they're like back to back anymore. So Flash thinks he can run in there, grab him, and run him out to the coastline so it's not going to cause any damage between blasts. And as he's trying, they start speeding up. So I think Impulse ends up running out there to stop him.
Yeah.
Whether it's on purpose, I don't know.
Oh, it's absolutely on purpose.
But then Jay and Wally get out there to pull them back before he explodes again.
Yes. I did skip over that. And yes, part of the reason that he came back is to save Barry's life because Barry died in the original timeline.
Yep.
And, theory is that obviously, probably in the original timeline, Barry dies while he comes out of retirement and becomes the new Flash, has to somehow gain more speed because he's not fast enough.
No, he's not. He's totally not fast enough. Still really fast.
Yeah.
Not fast. But then after the second explosion while he's regenerating, that's when Bart gets up there and uses that little blue orb that you were talking about.
Yep.
His jawbreaker.
His little magic jawbreaker.
Or is it a gene breaker? The meta gene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about the meta gene at all, which is like their discussion that they have at the beginning of the episode, which is now what these aliens seem to be after.
Yep.
Is kidnapping people and talking about their metagene. It's like there's not a word for it. The closest thing is metagene, a word that doesn't exist.
Which I would imagine is because they call people with superpowers metahumans.
Yes.
So I would imagine it's supposed to be the latent capability to have superhuman abilities in all human beings.
That's like going off of Batman, like the whole Batman metal stuff. It's essentially like having the metal in their bloodstream from that whole storyline, but instead of that, it's an actual gene.
Okay.
Because this was written 5 years before that was written.
or what Deadpool did, where it's every human has a latent mutant power. It's whether or not it can manifest. Or Inhumans needing Terrigen gas to activate their inhuman capabilities.
Yeah.
That kind of crap.
Yeah. It's like it's essentially DC's X gene.
Yep.
But yeah. So, they save Neutron. He becomes human again. And they're like
regular old, bald and eyebrowless human.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like he got turned back to human before his hair could grow back, obviously. But
Yep.
uh it's like it's of course it's revealed that Neutron was the guy that Bart was talking to in the future.
Yep. And that before Bart, because Bart got stuck in the
Yeah.
past. Like, oh no, I'm stuck in the past. But in the future, when we find out that that other dude was Neutron, we also find out Bart knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. It's a one-way trip. It's like,
Yep.
because Bart's just like, does this look like a future that's worth coming back to? And honestly, no, it was not.
What's really cool is the effect that they do that after Bart left, the flash of light, when it retracts, we see Neutron looks different.
Yes.
He doesn't have the collar around his neck. He's not wearing orange jumpers. Instead, he's wearing a white jumper. You know, but the world still sucks.
Yeah, the world still sucks. And we will see why the world still sucks in a later episode.
Yep.
But we still have a whole other part of this episode to talk about.
As a side question, is that supposed to be the island where the team is based, Justice Mountain or whatever it's called?
I think it is still Happy Harbor, yes.
Okay.
Which is why the time machine arrived in the cave among literally everybody anywhere else.
Yep. I just want to make sure.
I believe it is still Happy Harbor.
Cool. So the other part of the episode is Roy and Jade focused, right?
Yes.
So
we get Roy, Jade, and their little baby Leanne infiltrating. It is the worst idea.
It's really funny because they first show up. I'm like, oh, cool. They're working together to save Roy. And she's like, and your daughter's here too. And I'm like, what? What is this madness?
And so they take out the first couple guards, and then Leanne's laughing, and then Roy's just like, should I be worried that our daughter has an affliction for extreme violence, affinity, for ultra violence, and then Jade's just like, it runs in the family, and he's just like, great.
And it makes sense too because you're thinking about like Artemis Holt is no slouch. She kind of enjoys a good fight too. Yeah. Her mom is Huntress. Her dad is Sportsmaster, who showed up in a previous episode.
Yes,
that I forgot to mention.
Yes,
which I thought of you as an aside. I was at a comic book shop, and one of the things that this particular comic book shop does is sell used action figures and little repackaged things, and they had a Sportsmaster figure.
Sportsmaster's so cool. Sportsmaster will make some appearances in this season. He asked. Sportsmaster.
Yeah. But yeah, in general, I liked the little like comedic back and forth that they had at some points in this episode.
Well, I mean, they're married, so
yeah. So and they play it off really well.
Yeah, they do. It's like, yeah, 5-year time jump. You know, they got married. They've apparently been apart long enough for Roy to, one, not know she was pregnant, 2, for Leanne to grow that big.
Yep. So I'd imagine there was at least a 2-year period of time where they hadn't really seen each other.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 2-year, maybe year and a half at most. Well, at least rather.
She's also saying things. Like Leanne has, I think she said something about like mama or daddy or something like that.
Yeah. But I was talking before I was 1.
Still.
So yeah. They infiltrate, they take out a couple more guards, and then Leanne gets real loud, and then Roy's like, I told you we should have left her with your sister. And I'm like, yeah, you really should have.
Should have. Roy, now the voice of reason, so.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, Roy's better. He's got his haircut and everything. Yep. It's like just one haircut, shower, and a good nap, and he's back to his old
fighting weight.
Back to his fighting weight. Yeah, it's like that was a very fast turnaround, Roy. Must be your clone genes.
Either that or the dad effect.
Probably the dad effect.
Mostly the dad effect.
They're able to make their way through. Roy has a great moment where he trips somebody with an arrow, and then the arrow lets out gas, which was just really, really cool thing that I wish that they actually do in Arrow.
I like that he used firing an arrow into the ground at one point when they had like two people at them at sword point. He fired an arrow at the ground to distract them, and then they just started fighting them off again. I'm like, that's awesome too.
I do think Stephen Mel has done that before.
Still, that's a really cool. I never thought of that because someone's gonna look at that.
Yeah, it's like they do some great choreography in Arrow. I want to see somebody trip on an arrow. That's just great. Come
on. Yeah, totally. But yeah, in general, I enjoyed this. This was a fun, cute little thing because sure they were trying to be stealthy and infiltrate, and sure they fought their way through some of it. They probably were not really expecting to have to fight all of the entire place at once, but they probably also were like, but ultimately we can just take them. Because even with, and I also like that Jade's wearing Leanne in the front, because we have friends that do the little like wearing thing for their kids. I don't remember what that's called.
A wrap.
A wrap, yeah, a wrap for their kids, and that's what she's doing there. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, and it's not really slowing down her ability to fight.
Oh, it wouldn't. She probably was a supervillain while pregnant, so
probably for at least part of it.
Yeah, for at least part of it.
You got to make a living, I guess.
Yeah. She's like, I also like how in episode 4, it's like, Roy's like, you became a supervillain. It's like, nah, this is fringe benefits of doing that. I get to provide for my daughter, but then I also get to be a supervillain, which is fun.
I imagine she's less of a supervillain and more like super criminal at this point.
Yeah,
she's doing the kind of like crime that makes good money that only someone with her skill set could pull off.
Yeah, she's Catwomaning all over the place right now.
Yeah, slightly more violent Catwomaning.
Yes, a little bit, a little more violent. But they find original Roy, and one scene that I really just liked is like they open the casket and Roy falls on Roy, which I thought was a nice little thing. It's like
little Roy on Roy action. And my favorite part though is Leanne is just like, oh, daddies.
Yeah, yeah, that was. Yeah.
That kid is smart.
Yes. It's like that. It's like, some kids, like when, like, the whole thing is like when a parent has like an identical twin, they just get confused. And Leanne's just like, oh, look, I got 2 now. So, yeah. It's like, Leanne's just a smart kid.
Totally. Recognizes it. And it's not like she's seen her dad a whole bunch. So
no, she hasn't.
Recognizes her daddy really well.
I'm sure Jade made sure that. Yeah.
But still. Just in general, I really enjoyed this episode.
And this episode is great. It's probably one of my favorites of the season. Just mostly because of the Impulse stuff, but also the Roy and Cheshire stuff.
Totally. Totally. All the characters were really enjoyable. The pacing was kind of fun.
Yes.
There's one moment when it's Barry, Wally, and Bart talking.
Yeah.
Next to a EMT, and Barry and Bart start talking in speedster talk.
Yeah.
They sound like super sped up chipmunks, and Wally's just lost because he's not quite the same.
Yeah, it's like there's that. It's like I worry that when he said that he can hear about every 5th word, I worry that that's about as fast as he is. So I'm like, then does that mean that he's a 5th as fast as them?
I think he's probably closer to like 3/4 as fast, but it's not like he's got all the same capabilities. Like I don't think Wally could break out of cuffs nearly as quickly as Bart could.
He can't. It is established in season 1 he cannot phase through things.
Yeah. So he may be able to run almost as fast, but he doesn't have all the rest of the small speedster perks, like the ability to talk as fast as they can or listen as fast as they can.
He definitely can't. He definitely cannot see as fast as them.
No.
That is demonstrated in this because he had his goggles and then he had to give his goggles to Barry, so Barry could see that the distance between the time difference between the pulses.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting to see this, because that's how one of the other ways you can tell Bart truly is Barry's grandson is he is genetically a speedster.
Yes.
Like it's in his blood.
It's like, Ashley, you don't have to worry about your cat. I've come to expect it at this point.
We're trying to keep the worst of it from happening, but
yeah. It happens.
Piglet is in a mood right now.
But yeah, that's both these episodes so far. So yeah, next actually bring up that I made sure that I actually had Wikipedia up already, and I was scrolled all the way to the bottom. So next episodes, 7 Depths and episode 8 Satisfaction.
Yep.
And these are the episodes that have like when aired had like a huge chunk of time between them. It's like one was aired in June, one was aired in December. But they're actually a pretty good couple episodes to have together. It's like this is where we'll have episode 7 is probably like the episode that I would most not want to spoil. Well,
fair.
Like it's top 1 or 2 don't want to spoil of the season, and then episode 8 is just hey, you remember that Superboy episode at the end of last season? We'll have this for Roy, and that's what this episode is. So that's what Satisfaction is. And yeah, we'll talk about those next time. Do you have anything you want to plug? I know you got something later today.
Well, later tonight, this is a very busy week for us. Later tonight, we are doing our Psych, the movie breakdown and discussion with Cal the Kingslayer and Joe Chendango. Of course, my wife Ashley will be there as well. So if you haven't seen the Psych movie, you can watch it on Amazon for $4.99. I'm sure there's other places you can find it. That's just where we got it.
If you have cable, it's probably in your on-demand.
Yeah, like depending on if your cable does on-demand stuff, most do nowadays. It's kind of a bad idea not to. The other things we have going on is this week, practically all week, we will be doing a Star Wars retrospective special. We were going to do it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday. But now we're going to have to break it up slightly differently because I'm working on Monday night. So on Tuesday, we will be doing both the original trilogy at 8 Eastern, 8 Eastern, and then the prequel trilogy 10 minutes after we finish the original trilogy. Each thing should be about an hour. And then Wednesday, we are doing Force Awakens. Thursday, we're going to go see Last Jedi. Friday, we're going to break down Last Jedi and talk about it. We're going to try and be as spoiler light or spoiler free as possible. Just things we like and enjoyed about it. And then Saturday, we're going to do a very special, like other Star Wars related media, like Rogue One and video games and TV shows and stuff.
Christmas special.
And the Christmas special.
RPGs.
Yep, and the various tabletop RPGs and things like that. And you can find information on that on our Geek to My Nerd YouTube channel and Geek to My Nerd Twitter account, which I can link to if you follow me at the Spice Must Joe on Twitter, my new handle.
I love that new handle. So much.
I enjoyed it so much as well. Yeah, that's all I got going on. I'm also going to be streaming a lot this week, and if you go to our Geek to My Nerd channel, you can find the list of games that I'm looking at streaming. Right now, Fallout 4 is winning, but Persona 5 is quickly catching up.
All right. So you can find me back here again next week doing this show again, as I will until the end of the season, except for 2 weeks from now because that's Christmas Eve and I don't want to do that. So we're not going to have an episode Christmas Eve, but we'll probably have it New Year's Eve because, you know, who does anything in the morning on New Year's Eve?
Grocery shopping, but I can take time for 40 minutes of this.
Yeah, come on. So we've I keep saying I will eventually have the episode of Bunk Lock that I've recorded up. I just haven't got around to editing it. It's all recorded. It's all, you know, my audio's all processed and everything. because I have to actually do some audio processing because of the headset that I use. But it's just I haven't edited it at all. It's like I haven't just been in the mood to open up what Pinnacle at all. So I haven't done it. I'm sorry, I just haven't done it. And I haven't recorded any new episodes either.
It's a busy time of year, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Hopefully I'll see you guys all next week. Hopefully I'll see you next week, Joe.
I'm hoping. The only thing that would be a hiccup at this point for that is if I have to work next Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening.
Good. All right. So, see you guys next time. Bye.